or WeChats. With S, okay, we move from words to sentences, typically in course books and in the young learners tests and the A2 key, for example. They'll be asked to write a picture story. But at school, they'll probably have to write summaries. Hopefully, some of them will write songs. If they're working in a hotel or a restaurant or a shop, they might have to write a sign. And you see some hilarious signs when you travel and go into different places of people who've written signs and they're not quite right. And scripts for films, for plays, okay? This could be at school, or again, it could be in the future, in their professional lives. My next letter, so we've gone words, sentences, okay? My next letter is going to be T. And again, these are some things that our students might write now, or they might need to write in the future. So have we got any, I saw earlier we had somebody, well, a few teachers actually from Turkey. So do we have any Turkish translators today? Or do we have any tweets from Toledo in Spain, which I also saw we had here? Or any texts from Thailand? Okay, so what's my next letter going to be? B. Okay, so I've given you the word paragraphs. And what I'm going to ask you to do, so I don't know whether we've got anybody, I know we had people from Portugal. I saw we had a teacher from, at least one teacher from Pakistan, Poland, Peru, Prague. What do you think, Porto? I've given you paragraphs and I've given you 9 more P's for you to think of 9 other kinds of things that students write. So let's see if we can get those 9 things. We're getting poem, prose, plots. Oh, good. That's a nice one. Paraphrasing, yes, very important. Portfolios, postcards, excellent, okay. So these were mine, okay, and I think we've got some more that I didn't have on my list. Okay, so think about what your students write now, or what we can ask them to write, and think about what they might have to write in the future. Obviously, this could be electronically, or it could be by hand even. Okay, I gave you a clue, or some clues, because I gave you the 9 P's for you to write your ideas. And I also gave you the second word of press release. And I also gave you another clue, I don't know whether you noticed, but I'd separated out the lines and you could see that presentations and proposals, you had quite long words in that. So again, I'm giving you layout, I'm giving you some visual clues to help you. And this can help our students too. Okay, give them those visual clues. And there you've got the hashtag. Yeah, if anybody wants to post, they can there. So this alphabet, which I haven't got anything for X and Z, if anybody can think of anything for those letters, I'd be very interested to hear their ideas. These are things that we write in real life. We might write them very infrequently, never perhaps, or we might write them every day and a lot. So, okay, just some ideas. You can see there's a vast range of writing types that our students might have to write in the future, and we might have to write now in our daily lives. Okay, so Let me show you some figures now, just to put this back into context. So this infographic that you can see in the middle of the screen, this was created by a teacher's newsletter in Australia, and it basically shows the results of a survey carried out in 2014 in the UK, in the United Kingdom. And as part of the survey, children were asked to say what they wrote in outside school, so not at school, and what they wrote outside school at least once a month. Okay, and you can see by far the biggest, the most frequent kind of written or text that students were writing were text messages. We also had social networking, and at the bottom there you've got lyrics for songs. Now, the latest survey is available on the National Literacy Trust's website. The latest survey shows the results for 2017 to 2018. And texts had gone up to 88%. Instant messaging has gone up to 78%. Stories have made an appearance, which I was very happy to read about. So stories was 44%. Song lyrics are also becoming more popular, 36%. And poems, 23% of students said that they wrote poems outside school for pleasure. Now, the worrying thing I found about this survey as well is that more than 50% of young people said they didn't like writing, or they only liked it very little. Very worrying. And more than 30% in this survey said that they never or rarely write. So I'd like to be a teacher who tries and encourages students to like writing, because I love writing. And I think we can, by varying the types of writing that we do, and by showing students the steps to writing, we can hopefully make them like writing too. So let's look at some activities to work on writing and hopefully to inspire our students. So I took a piece of paper. In fact, I've got a book where I keep my ideas, okay? And I wrote in the middle of a page the word happy. And I wrote words around this word for things that make me happy. So what makes you happy? What words would you write on a sheet like this with the word happy in the middle? So what makes you happy? Family, music, movies, holidays, sunshine, friends, chocolates. Oh, okay, this is what I wrote on my what makes me happy. Okay, so you can see that I took that word, I decorated my happy, I added flowers because they make me happy, and I added some activities and things that make me happy. Okay, so very simple activity. You don't need anything. If you're online, you could get your students to do what you're doing with a chat box, or you could get them to do this on a piece of paper physically, and they can hold up their pieces of paper and show each other what makes them happy. I can show you my piece of paper for sweet. Okay, so things that I think of when I hear the word sweet, or what I would describe using the word sweet. Okay, so we can show each other our physical pages. We don't have to do it online. Okay, so we can do that with adjectives, but we can also do it with words like adventure. Okay, so again, and you can see I've made an adventure, a curvy adventure, because I think it's like jumping. Okay, and it makes me feel like a cloud and very happy as well. So again, you can get your students to write words around the word adventure and to decorate the word as well. Okay, this is my adventure page in my notebook here. Inspiring words could also be added to a picture. So I took this balloon, this hot air balloon, I cut it out of a magazine because I really liked the picture, and I've made my own picture from it. Okay, so I've actually added some smiley faces there to the picture, and I've added some clouds around the picture and written or stuck words in there for things that I would associate with going on a balloon ride. Okay, and you can see that it's actually on my bucket list to go on a hot air balloon ride. Okay, one day I hope to do this. So here's a slide to show you some other words that you could do this activity with. Okay, so these are what I think are very inspiring words, and they come from the Starters, Movers and Flyers word lists, okay, which you can find in the handbook on the Cambridge Assessment English website. Okay, so some nice, simple, inspiring words, but simple. For example, wish, adventure, view, well, way. They are words that maybe we can't show learners a picture because they're more abstract words, and this happens the higher the level that you go to. You could also do this with higher levels, any level, in fact. Okay, so you could take an idiom or a collocation from a higher level and do the same, get them to think about associations, because one of my mottos is use it or lose it. So as we're doing covering new language, get your students to use it, and in a personal way, something that is relevant for you, because hopefully that will make you remember it. Okay, to show you, this is an activity from Fun Skills Level 2, and they're given 4 paintings, and I've got the adjectives there at the top. Which paintings do you like? Okay, so maybe some people might think that the top painting on the right is a bit scary, and they might think the boats in picture 3 are beautiful, or they might think, well, no, they're silly because I don't want to have to sail. I want a motor to drive my boat, or to power my boat. They could also, obviously, apart from those adjectives in the box, they can also add other words for things that they can see, things that the way it makes them feel. Okay, so these are opinion adjectives. But they could also say, I don't like it because I feel frightened when I look at that picture. Okay. And again, just to show you some inspiring adjectives, and again, I can show you the real thing, as it were, to get this into camera. So this I made using the adjectives, again, from the Starters, Movers and Flyers word list. And I chose, I don't know whether you can see, the photo on the side isn't very good, okay? but I chose some nice shiny metallic green paper, and then I organized my adjectives in terms of, at the top, we've got perhaps how you might feel. So you feel lucky, you feel safe, you feel sure. And whereas in the middle, most of the adjectives are for your opinion. So wonderful, amazing, easy, yeah. And I don't know if I'll point out, for example, in the middle, under okay, we've got excellent. So I found, for example, at kind, I found that adjective in a magazine and cut it out and stuck it like that. But with excellent, I didn't have the word excellent. I didn't find it in my magazine. So I've built it from individual letters that I cut out of packets, magazines, even some old course books, okay, that I had lying around. So I've cut out those letters and I've built my word. And I can honestly say that's so good for spelling, because you get your letters and you think, now, which letter am I missing? Oh, I need an L. Oh, I need this. And it really reinforces the spelling of these letters, of these words. Okay, so I'd encourage you to do that, okay? And I'm sure you can do it online as well. Yeah, students could post their adjectives online. And again, you can think of the layout, the size, the font, etc. Okay, so I did my poster like that. Okay, I could have done it like that. That wouldn't have been a problem, but I probably would have had to reorganize my adjectives there. So as well as the size of your blank page, get students to think about what's the best way to lay it out, landscape or portrait? Am I going to have straight lines, or am I going to tilt my content? Okay, so all of these things, thinking about design, I think will help a lot of our students in the future. And as I say, especially those students who have problems organizing and presenting and showing their information. Okay, I wanted to show you some more things that I've created myself. So these are called typegrams or verbicons, and they are visual ways of illustrating vocabulary. So I've got a collection. I don't know whether you can see the link in the middle there. I have a collection on Pinterest, and I've got collections for all the topic areas of the Young Learners word lists. However, I couldn't find typegrams for beetle or tortoise, so I made my own. Yeah, so again, why not ask your students, and you've probably got some very artistic students in your groups, get them to make their own typegrams. And the one at the bottom, kiwis, I'm going to show you in a minute again. Okay, so I wrote this actually when I was writing my brief for the Fun Skills books. So you'll see this actually on the page in the students' book, and this was what I sent to Cambridge to say, this is what I want on the page. So one of the texts or the writing types of text or writing that I mentioned before when I showed you my alphabet were infographics. So this is my infographic from Fun Skills. It says read the poster, because poster is on the Young Learners word lists. An infographic isn't at the moment. It might appear in the future, who knows? So we've got an infographic about kiwis, and you can see I've got a mixture of text and visuals. Okay. I actually prefer my typegram that I sent to Cambridge to this one on the page, but that's just my opinion. And yeah, that's a typegram, okay? An illustrated word that visually represents the meaning of the word. So in Fun Skills, in this activity, we give them an infographic about kiwis, and then we give them information on coconuts and mangoes, and they can choose one of those to make their own infographic. Or, of course, they could choose another fruit or vegetable, okay, and make their infographic. Okay, but I hope you'll see that that is quite an inspiring thing to write, I think, certainly for me, because I mix visuals and text all the time. I'm a very visual learner. Okay, looking at my clock, I'm not actually going to give you time to do this really very much, but obviously you've seen an example with kiwis and mangoes and coconuts, but your students can make infographics about animals, places. There's no limit, okay? Whatever area you're working on, I think you could get your students to make infographics and probably find examples online of infographics about other topics to give them an example. Okay, again, we're going to look at visualizing information, and this time I'm going to look at mind maps. So mind maps typically we use for brainstorming information and brainstorming ideas, perhaps for a writing, an essay or something. But this one is a mind map with a difference, okay? So again, this example comes from Fun Skills. And what we get is, first of all, we get a mind map, and then students look at the poster, which is, again, a combination of visuals and text. And so what they do is they show their understanding of the information by categorizing the information here on the mind map. Okay, so it's a reading comprehension activity. And then we get students to write 3 sentences about their family, and then they can draw pictures or they can find a photo or photos, and they make their poster about their family. And then what we use a lot in Fun Skills, and I use a lot myself when I'm doing writing with students, is we have the checklist buddy who is giving them some tips, some hints to say, you know, have you followed the instructions? Is your writing what you were asked to write? Have you written 3 sentences? Have you used capital letters? Have you used full stops at the end of the sentences? So their students can go back to their writing and just quickly check, yes, yes, yes. Or if it's yes, no, yes, then we can go and correct those capital letters or put them in where they should be. And then students write 3 sentences about, they've written their 3 sentences about their family. They found their photographs, or they've drawn their pictures, and at the back of the book, I haven't actually got a copy physically of Fun Skills for you, but the page there is actually this full size for the students, and it's at the back of the book so that they can complete it for their own family with their poster. Okay, and then again, they could obviously share their mind maps and their posters with their classmates and with their family, yeah, and show them, look what I've made about us. Okay, so again, looking at the time, I'm not going to stop here. I should ask you for ideas, but I'm sure you've got lots of ideas of how you could do a reading task with a visual poster or a text. It doesn't have to be a poster. And then students can create their own posters or writing and then represent it in a mind map. Okay, so I think this has lots of applications. Okay, with a P, we had profiles. Okay. So to write a profile, this is from level 5 of Fun Skills. we have 4 people. So students look at the photographs and they listen, and they're going to hear about 4 people: Holly, Rob, Katie, and Oliver. You can probably guess who they're going to hear first, okay, because we've given them a clue. So can you see the word friendly under number 3? Okay, so that's the first person we're going to hear about, and we've given students a visual clue that they will know that even though that's number 3, the first person they're going to listen to is Rob, okay? So his name is Rob and he's 11, and he talks about what he likes, and he also mentions something. You can see the unsmiley face at the bottom under the picture of Rob there. So he's a bit lazy. Okay, so we can write lazy there, and we could write funny on the line under friendly. Okay, so students listen to about Rob, and then they listen also to information about the other 3 people and write the adjectives, well, write their names and the adjectives that they use to describe themselves. Then they read 2 of the internet profiles for 2 of those people that we saw. So I've made it easier for you right now. So I've given you Rob, and which of the internet profiles do you think is Rob? So is Rob lazy at the weekend, or does he play in a band and practice and is sometimes unfriendly? Okay, and the answer is it's the first one, exactly, Andrea. Because Rob's still at school, he wants to be an actor, and he's good at telling funny stories, okay? But because we've got the lazy, and that's the link to what we heard in the listening on the audio, then we know that this is Rob's profile. Then we get a short text which tells you how to write a good internet profile. Okay, so we get this advice. And, sorry, before, they would go back to the 2 profiles that we saw, the one about Rob, and analyze those 2 and say which is better, okay? And I'll tell you because of time, okay? So Rob's profile is better. The second one, we have lots of repetition of language, lots of language repetition, and it's quite negative, okay? So if you want to make find a pen friend or something like that, you don't want to share lots of negative information about yourself. You want to be more positive. So try to talk about things that make you happy. Use adjectives, but don't use the same words over and over again. And don't forget to choose a nice photo, okay? So students will then write their own internet profile. And again, we'll give them the steps to do this. Think of 3 words that describe you, 2 or 3 things that you want to tell other people, and complete the tables and choose a photo. So they'll create their own profile, which of course they can then share with their classmates, or in your online classes, they could do this and then share their profiles. And as I was preparing this, I was thinking you could also get them to maybe find a pen pal, okay? Cambridge Assessment English does have a pen friends website. Okay, so that's the example. Right, so I'm zooming ahead here. So I thought, this is not in any of the Fun Skills books, okay, but I thought, well, if they're going to write a profile, another thing, very useful thing, in my opinion, is to know how do you create a hashtag. So hashtags, they're usually one word or two or more words together. You can use numbers, but there must be at least one letter and no spaces. And the best number is between 5 and 10 hashtags for an Instagram post. So this is my tip of how you could get your students to use hashtags in their learning. And I've also got a task for you. Which of those hashtags is not a good hashtag? Look at the checklist and the checklist body, and which of those hashtags is not a very good hashtag? Yes, so pictures in the SB, okay, is not a good hashtag because it's got spaces and we can't have spaces. And potentially it's also too long. And also another thing to check with hashtags is it something that's already being used a lot online and perhaps for things that you don't want them to use? So I mentioned before about reusing activities, reusing the infographics, reusing the mind map. So I've gone back to my balloon ride picture and I've thought of activities that you could do with that picture and thinking about the ideas I've been sharing. So they could draw a typogram for the word balloon. So a typogram for the word balloon probably wouldn't be square, the letters or the shapes, it'd probably be round. And perhaps the balloon might be floating. It's probably the O's are going to be very balloon-like, aren't they? Ask them to write 5 hashtags for this picture. Write a message to their friend. Hey, we just landed. We got back from our balloon trip and wow, it was fantastic. Oh, really? What did you see? Where did you fly? Their friend could answer. They can write an internet profile for one of those people in the balloon. What do they like? What don't they like? Their characters, what they like doing. An activity I haven't mentioned, but actually interesting because it was growing in popularity, was keeping a diary. And I think a lot of the students right now are, in fact, it's one of the things that people are saying, keep a diary of lockdown, because in the future you can come back to your diary, okay? And a lot of children in the UK, in the latest survey, about 35%, I think, were keeping a diary. Okay, so they could write the page of their diary for this balloon trip. Or they can find out about hot air balloons and they can create an infographic for a hot air balloon. Okay. And I just wanted to mention here, because as I was preparing for this webinar, I was thinking a lot about this. I think a lot of you out there are teaching online. So your students are typing rather than writing by hand, perhaps, or certainly more of the proportion of the lesson than perhaps they would normally do. So the mistakes they might be making will probably be typing mistakes rather than spelling mistakes. And there's a very interesting study about candidates in the online B1 preliminary exams, comparing computer and paper-based exams, and the kinds of mistakes that they were making. So if your students are typing, you might find that they are correctly spelling words that they might misspell when they're handwriting, but they're pressing the keys on the keyboard in different order. And again, that is a real life skill. When I type the word Cambridge, I very often put the D and the G in the wrong order. So automatically, when I'm typing that word, when I'm going to type, I'm very aware. I'm very aware of the order that my fingers have to type in. So again, get your students to think about what typing mistakes are you making. However, I also wanted to encourage you to keep doing the pen and paper writing, because you will have students, especially younger students, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, they really need the physical activity of writing because they need to keep on practicing. I hope that these months that we've had being locked up and at home won't mean that those students in the future won't become artists or won't become engineers. I have my youngest daughter, I can speak from experience, needed lots of hands-on practice. So make sure it's still part of your classes, even if you're teaching online. Get them to do things during the lesson or for the lesson, after the lesson, but make sure that they're getting that physical letter writing practice. And what I'm going to share with you now is, you probably can't read this, okay, but we're going to go to the next slide, and we've got a zoom in here. What I've created for you, and you're going to receive this now or in a few minutes, I've created, I'll go back to that slide. I've created a writing calendar. So there are 28 days in my calendar. It's not for any particular month, but on each of the days you have a writing activity. Okay, so I'll go back to the zoom in version of this. So you can see for day 1, we have underlining. When there's underlining, that means there's a hyperlink. Day 2, there's no underlining here because there's no hyperlink, because I thought that that was quite self-explanatory. I think you can understand writing signs in English for doors and cupboards in your home would be, you don't need me to explain very much how to do that. Or finding a song you like in English and writing the words you hear. Do you hear any words a lot? Okay. I didn't think that you needed any explanation, but let's just look at, if I click on the hyperlink in number 1, okay, let's just see where we would go. Where you'll go is a blog post that I wrote and is available on the World of Better Learning, and it's got some writing activities, and this article will give you more explanation about writing a word or a sentence in different colors, different letters, or with different materials, and then thinking about which colors or letters look best. Okay, so that would take you to this article, which would give you some more ideas for doing that. Okay, so have you got your, hopefully, no longer blank page? Has everybody got their blank page? Okay, I haven't had time, unfortunately, to write anything during the webinar, okay? But have you got your blank page? Yes. I hope it's not, is it blank? I hope it's not blank now. Somebody said they've got 2 pages, excellent. But if you would like to take a photo of your no longer blank page, hopefully, or 3 pages, take a photo or scan it if you prefer, and upload it to social media and use that hashtag. If you haven't completed your blank page, by all means do this now, afterwards, but try and do it today and try and share it with us using that hashtag. Okay, and I'd be very, very interested to see what you've put on your page or pages. Hello, Stuart. You can come back again. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne. Brilliant. I'm just checking now. I was just looking at the my Instagram account to see if I get any hashtags up. I'll be checking later.
Me too.
Okay. Anyway, great. That was fantastic. Thanks for all of those ideas. We're running out of time fast today, so we're just quickly just to say that all of the example material you saw today comes from the new Fun Skills course, of which Anne is one of the writers, of course. That's a 6-level course that you should be able to see on your screen now, and it takes users from pre-A1 starters right through to A2 flyers. I always have to remember.
Yes.
Flyers. Yeah.
Stuart, can you move us so they can see the bottom of the screen?
Yes, let's move us up to the top somewhere. There you go. You don't need to see Cambridge. You know it's Cambridge. Okay, so that if you're interested in that, then the links are on the handouts. The handouts I can see now my colleagues have just made available in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You should have a link there to download all of the handouts. So please go ahead and click on that now to receive your handouts. What else? The resources, as I said, they're all on the handouts. Sarah, you want to talk about?
Yes, just in case you didn't catch it at the beginning, on the Cambridge English Assessment website supporting every teacher, you'll find resources for the Young Learner Test. So
down here.
Thank you very much for the pre-A1 starters and A2, and the A2 movers, A1 movers and A2 flyers. You can find that under the exam section, and then you'll find resources for teachers under teaching English. And so there's lots of things that you can download for free as well from this website. So I just keep that short. And if once you get into there, you'll find this fantastic interactive PDF. If you click the pages, you'll find the special page dedicated to young learners where you can download flashcards, lesson plans, and sample papers, lots of interesting resources. So I'll just keep that short. Over to Stuart.
Same thing. If you joined at the beginning, you've already seen this. We have a similar Supporting Every Teacher account across the Cambridge University Press website. And what you can see on the screen there, if I just move our bodies out of the way, move us up there, the Supporting Every Teacher Fun Skills home booklets, we have made available for free downloads for all teachers and parents to use. And my colleagues have been busy pasting links in the chat box, but these are also the direct links to each of these. These are great booklets, by the way, that Anne's been involved with as well, haven't you, Anne? Lots of puzzles, stories, including animated stories that you can link to online. So it's designed for the home, but teachers can equally use these in an online sort of capacity as well. So loads of free stuff. So do have a look if you're not already familiar with these. Just to quickly say, our World of Fun teacher support site for young learner exam preparation is still very much what was I going to say? Is still very much active with new stuff going on all of the time. We've just added some new posters, for example, that you can use digitally, online posters. Again, you can find these on World of Fun. You can find them on our Support Every Teacher website as well. Okay, and just to remind you, Anne is very kindly coming back and doing this one again this afternoon. So if you've seen it this morning, you don't need to come back this afternoon, but do come back on Monday, next Monday, the 6th of May, where Sorry, I got that wrong.
11th
of May. Sorry, where Jane Ritter will be rejoining us to do our fourth webinar in the series, and then Anne will be joining us again with Jane the following day on the Tuesday next week. So loads more stuff lined up for you, and I hope that you can all join us. There've been a couple of questions today about certificates.